Hit it.
So a warm welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining the webinar. It's a few minutes to the hour, so we will wait for people to log in and get then started with the content. So Femke, are you at your home office or at the Avery Dennison office today?
No, I'm at the home office today.
Okay. This is not my home office, by the way. So
No, it's good to see you in your high-tech environment. That is,
this is
it's
where
good to
the
be
magic
so,
happens.
but it's good to be so international represented, isn't it? Me based in the region of the Netherlands, the region of Amsterdam, and then you covering the Nordics.
Yes, here I am in Helsinki.
And then we have our team members in the US. So very grateful for the early start of the day.
Yes, and I was also happy to see the number of registrants was high and attendance all over the globe, basically. So with that said, a warm welcome, everyone. As it's top of the hour, we shall get going here. Just a few housekeeping notes up front. This webinar will be recorded. I ask you to use the Q&A window to post questions for us panelists today instead of using the chat. If you have technical difficulties, feel free to use the chat as it's being monitored as well. But me and Femke will see the Q&A mostly. And we are looking out for interactive moments with you all. There's a poll coming up in a few minutes, so please be prepared to hit the button as that time comes. So a deep dive into DPP, DPP standing for the Digital Product Passport, and in the next 45 minutes, you shall learn what DPP is and what kind of a profound change it inflicts on many businesses. The webinar is produced to you by the RAIN Alliance. It's a global consortium of companies and institutions that either utilize or provide solutions based on RAIN technology. RAIN, also known as UHF RFID. You can learn a lot from the RAIN Alliance even without being a paying member. However, if you want to see into the future of this technology or even influence the future, that is best done in the work groups of RAIN, most of which are open for RAIN members only, including the sustainability work group, for example. With that out of the way, let's get ready to look into the future. My name is Juho Partanen. I'm the Vice President of Industrial Partnerships at Voyantic. Voyantic, a company that I co-founded and a company that enables other companies to excel with RFID, meaning RAIN and NFC included. We specifically provide quality assurance solutions for the manufacturing processes of RAIN tags and tagged items. I am also the serving chairman of the RAIN Alliance and have been an elected board member for a number of years. Together with me today is Femke Zijlstra. Femke is developing business around sustainability at Avery Dennison Smartrac. Femke, very warm welcome to you as well. Thank you for taking the time today. I understand you have past experience in the textile industry, which surely is an asset in your current position. Do you miss the textile industry?
I don't know. I think the textile industry, especially being dedicated to sustainability, is very near me, and it's an interesting but very conscious career shift to with a passion for sustainability to dive deeper into the huge opportunity of digitization and learning more about the technologies like RAIN RFID, because we do really recognize, and I really do recognize that RFID technology connecting the physical product with a digital twin really gives data transparency, which we really need to tackle the huge amount of intransparency and inaccuracy of data we have to really find ways to scale our sorting and our recycling processes and really steer circularity to a more sustainable future. So I'm very happy that I have now the opportunity to see the bigger picture and sometimes have a more agnostic view on how the transition to circularity is taking place. So with that, I have a valuable background, but learning a lot every day by taking a step back from.
And your passion to sustainability clearly comes across. So could you briefly state what is it that Avery Dennison Smartrac provides for companies that look out to increase their sustainability in their operations?
What's very important as a company, Avery Dennison is very clear on what is our responsibility to reduce our carbon footprint and really contribute to a more circular economy. Every business has the opportunity to take their accountability. So we take our accountability and having very strong corporate sustainability targets and metric that we, working in Avery Dennison Smartrac, roll into what we committed to publicly on corporate level. But with that, we are very active in digitization, and with that, we bring solutions to market that can help our customers really reduce their Scope 3 emissions, and also create the ability to connect with all the stakeholders in the value chain. And with a good understanding of all the challenges that are out there in this transition to circularity and all the commitments that we have as company, it really takes partners that have the opportunity to or have the understanding what the issues are, and also bring products and solutions to market that can really deliver and partner with customers to create that impact and that transparency. So this is really, and it takes teamwork. It's a teamwork to oversee the complexity of the challenges and what it takes to offer solutions. So this is where we see a portfolio of truly solutions that are needed to help in the transformation to a low carbon and circular economy. So we truly believe in partnership and helping our customers.
Me as well, and glad to partner with you today.
Absolutely.
Provide this webinar. We actually did it already once a month ago in the Connection Summit meeting in Taiwan. So the narrative today follows what we already delivered over there. The difference will be the audience, meaning you behind the screens, who can greatly influence what we concentrate on today. So again, please use the Q&A window to post your questions and upvote the questions from others if you'd like. Let me also launch a poll here just to find out what your current view on DPP is. There's 5 questions. I ask you to either agree or disagree with those, and we'll come back to the answers in just a bit. Now, the digital product passport most definitely is something that's been discussed at the RAIN meetings over the years. The Alliance organizes typically 2 face-to-face meetings that rotate across different continents. Here pictured is Hervé de Haluin from Decathlon, who already spoke of DPP back in the Helsinki meeting in summer of 22. A couple of other pictures. We have Nate Panning of Michelin in Greenville speaking, that was in 22. GS1 has highlighted the work done in DPP already in Seattle last summer. And I've also spoken of circularity back in the Helsinki meeting a few years ago. So DPP today is much more than just a buzzword. We can see the picture on the left there for Google Trends, showing that a couple of years ago, no one was really paying attention to DPP, but now everyone's talking of it, and you will hear Femke explain why that is. There's even the China Academy of Information and Communications Technology posted their content on DPP some time ago. So it is all over the place, and the impact, again, the profound impact goes well beyond the borders of Europe. Now, with this picture, I'm sort of picturing you in the forefront, dear attendee, talking to your customers to be. Maybe you recognize the look of concentrated hesitation on the face of your prospect customer, hearing you out, trying to make sense of how RAIN fits in their strategy, operative model, and IT environment. Trying to decide if she is ready to take on the personal stance and apply RAIN at her company. You know, this opens up the possibility for you to be the hero in the room, helping either this customer or your colleague be the expert, explain DPP and how RAIN can be utilized to meet the new requirements in the supply chains and product data. Looking at the situation from the perspective of our industry, well, DPP could expand the utilization of RAIN. It might expand, but as an industry, we at the RAIN Alliance are committed to make sure that DPP will expand the utilization of RAIN. This is what we can do together as an ecosystem of companies. So with that motivational outlook out of the way, let's get ready to take a dive. And the agenda, we will start with defining the digital product passport, what it really stands for. We will then proceed to understand the impact of DPP across different industrial verticals. Then we have an ecosystem challenge to address, how to make RAIN a data carrier for DPP. And finally, there will be some call to actions for RAIN member companies and other companies working in our industry. And we will end with a summary. After the summary, we will also have a Q&A session. Before I let Femke take it away, I will just end the poll for now. Let's look at the results there. So 5 questions. Do you agree, disagree with the following? DPP is a concern for my customers. Fair, good agreement there. DPP creates business opportunity for my company. A very strong agreement there. DPP has implications for global supply chains. 96% agree. DPP is something that only concerns European businesses. Strong disagreement, which I think is very correct view. And finally, DPP does not concern me. Well, you are attending the webinar, so it's no surprise you are disagreeing it, 93%. So thank you for answering the poll there. With that, out of the way, Femke, please take it away.
Thank you, Juho, for your inspiring introduction. If you could help me move to the next slide. So it's my honor to dive a little bit deeper into the digital product passport. And with digital product passport is almost synonymous with a transition to a more circular economy. And a circular economy is not doesn't go without the vision of what we have to do as a community, as a global community, to reduce the waste that we generate and think of means to promote recycling, reuse, and the durability of the product. And this is the scope of the digital product passport, the first regulatory tool that is very product specific to aid with having these bigger objectives in mind. So what is interesting about the product is the digital product passport, that it takes the whole product life cycle into scope, starting at the principles of eco-design. What are the material choices that are taken to, and the functionality of a product before what it is designed into and how it is brought to market. But it doesn't only limit with what materials are chosen, where the material is produced and what it's made of. It actually is looking at all the life cycles from the moment it's being designed up to the moment it's being recycled again. And all this relevant sustainability product-related data is in scope for the digital product passport. But what do you do with data if the data is not accessible? So this is where the scope of digitization comes into play, because digital tools, data carriers have the ability to connect the physical product with the digital twin. And having information digital available, and it has the ability to reach consumers, because the digital product passport is a consumer-focused tool, that you have data available that will help the consumer take more informed and conscious decisions, because that data is made available in a very easy, accessible way. So what was said and alerted to already is that of course, the digital product passport is a European legislative tool. And it's therefore relevant for all the products that are manufactured within Europe and brought to market in Europe. But I think everybody in this room knows that the majority of products that are landed on the European market are not produced nor manufactured in Europe. So all those products that are manufactured out of Europe but are imported into Europe will comply with the same European passport. And that really makes the scope of the European passport bigger than just the European market. And we can move to the next slide, please. So it is a legislative tool. And on top of the legislation in Europe, we have the European Green Deal. And the bigger objective of the European Green Deal is to really reduce the carbon footprint in 2030 by 50% against the 1990 baseline. So that is a bold ambition. And it takes a waterfall of legislation to really help this transition to take place. But what is so interesting in the Eco-Design for Sustainable Product Regulation, the ESPR, that it really looks at what is the contribution of the products and how are the products that are manufactured and purchased by the consumer, what is their role in this whole ambition to reduce our carbon footprints with a view of 2030 and beyond. So this is where the digital product passport on an individual product level comes into play. But there's so many different products out there, and they all have their unique ways in how they're manufactured, and they have their own ecosystems. So it's difficult to have one product passport with one set of requirements and specifics that is working for all. So that's not the way the legislating is working. There will be specific delegated acts whereby specific guidelines, standards are defined per product group. Textiles is one of the first priority segments that is called out, in which the product passport will come alive, and in the delegated acts whereby the details will be taken care of. And that's an interesting area because that is close to the near future, whereby definition of this delegated act is taking place. So in this whole transition, it's quite important to call out Surpass, because Surpass is hopefully known, familiar by many of you, and is a consortium with openness to many stakeholders in our system that is really piloting and testing how this whole new ecosystem of product and its data is working together. It's piloting, it's testing, from learning from the good and the bad, but really with having industry transformation in mind, and also be an objective source to provide recommendations to all the stakeholders and also to the regulators. So we learn together and not building a data platform or a product platform that is set up for failure. So Surpass is a very important consortium to set us up for a successful future.
So Femke, as you bring up Surpass, how many pilot projects are there within that framework?
There are very many participants. In March this year, the second phase of Surpass started, in which they are running pilots. I don't know how many pilots they're building. I'm not too familiar with all the details, but there is a high amount of participants that are participating in the pilots.
I believe the number is around maybe 11 or 12.
No, it's higher.
Many of which are around textiles. I hear one is concentrating on the construction industry even. So there's a variety, and they are spread across Europe. But good.
Thanks
so
for
that's
that addition.
Surpass.
Thank you. So what we mentioned is building an ecosystem of digital data, and it requires so many different stakeholders or ecosystem partners, whatever name we feel appropriate to use. But centric in this ecosystems are the companies that are putting product to market. Those are the companies that have the data, and we've centered them in the middle of this overview. They are the ones that have the responsibility to connect the product data, the physical data, to the product. But they don't per se own or are the source of the data itself. There is a natural relationship with companies that bring product to market and their partners that are involved with the manufacturing and supplies of these products. And that relationship is really sourcing the data and sharing it to make it available on product level. But there's a high interest for other users in the whole ecosystem to have readability and have access to the data so they can scale and use the data for their benefit. We already called out for the huge important role of consumers, that they need to be conscious in how they're taking decisions. So data is very relevant for them. Also governance. It is a governmental rule to really help the transition to a circular economy. So there is an interest. But think about sorters, recyclers. If they have more access to specific product data, it will finally help them to automate processes where they are sometimes manual today, very much thinking about the textile segment. But also the recycling benefits really from consistent and high quality feedstocks. With the ability to connect more accurate product data, we can actually finally start to scale and reach the ability of having consistent feedstocks. But the data needs to be accessible. So the role of the digital solutions providers, in other words, the data management, is of essence, because in all these different data interests, there need to be data platforms, there need to be a level of data management to secure the security or accessibility. So how this whole ecosystem is working together, this is new. This is what how the business is changing. So it's really good to have that bigger picture in mind in understanding the dynamics of the transformation and the digitization of our products and their digital twins. So if you can go to the next
Femke.
slide, please.
Yes, a brief technical comment and then one question. The technical comment, your connection is breaking up a bit. So if you have other programs running in the background, it might be a good idea to clear some of those up. But otherwise, you are good to go. There was a question whether you know if the customs service has a live visibility into the data. So do you know if the customs is also involved in the ecosystem of data?
That's a very good question because it is a mandatory tool. So I don't have the specific of the insight, and I think this is something that needs to be. But what I understand, if there is product that are not carrying a product passport, that it's very, very difficult to enter the European market. So there needs to be an interaction with customs, checking if there is a digital product, yes or no, and if it's not, then somehow it's not allowed on the European market. But how that actually will be designed to function, I don't have that visibility.
Okay, that's fine. And now the sound
good questions. Good
right,
question.
so...
And actually, we should note these questions with care so we can give back these answers through the RAIN community.
Sure.
So I try to look at my systems on the background, but I don't have anything running. So I apologize for breaking up. So let me continue. If that
Please continue. Yes.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah, that's fine.
So what you see in this slide is, I think, what we all recognize as the circular visualization of the product life cycle, and it's circular. So starting at the top of the raw material, actually at the end of the circle and the beginning of its life again, the disposal, the sorting, and the recycling. So what is interesting in this circle is that the RAIN RFID technology is very robust and at scale and very active in the supply chain management and inventory management, basically up to the point of sales. So what is interesting in this transition with to the looking at sustainability and looking at the product's entire life cycle is that we can learn from the experience that we have in bringing digitization and bringing transparency in these segments of supply chain management and inventory management, that we expand that throughout the entire life cycle of a product. Because what RAIN RFID technology has done very well in these two segments is that by bringing transparency in processes, the data has become available to optimize and not only bring commercial efficiencies to scale, but if we're able to really connect that with our sustainability targets, we can not make an impact commercially, but also from an environmental perspective. And by expanding that up to the moment of recycling and reuse, we have a huge opportunity to actually build into transparency throughout the life cycle. So this is what is a very interesting opportunity for the RAIN technology, because it has the data really to make it specific for all these different use moments in a product life cycle. We can go to the next slide, please. So indeed, moving on to what is then the impact of the digital product passport. And it is indeed an impact that lies outside, it is within Europe, but also definitely beyond the European borders. And this is repeating again what I said earlier. The majority of the products that are coming to the European market are produced outside of Europe. So for these products to need to comply with the same regulation is already moving the scope outside of Europe. But the regulatory tool itself is probably seen as a hurdle to comply with legislative requirements. But the opportunity and the need to move to a circular system is also embraced by countries outside of Europe. And those companies and countries that do that well actually will be a driver of a new type of economy. So with that said, it's very interesting to see how Japan is interested in adopting the digital product passport legislations as to become their own. And we're seeing many companies outside Europe as well using the opportunity of a digital product passport to really connect the physical and the digital and link it to make more informed decisions by consumers, and opening up all these use cases outside just the enabling a circular economy and thinking about new business models in renting, resale, reusing. So the digitization and to use it beyond the point of sale is really being triggered by the transition to a circular economy. And that's picked up globally. So if we move to the next slide, please. So I'm bringing back this circle because to look at a product from the moment it's being designed and manufactured up to the point it's recycled again is how the world is changing. And it's not only applicable to textiles. The prioritized industries by the legislators is extensive. It's from electronics to ICT, batteries, textiles as mentioned, steel, plastic, furniture, construction and building, and chemicals. There's just only a few product categories that are not in scope for the digital product passport, but all these industries will be prioritized and will be affected by carrying a digital product passport, starting with consumers being able to take more informed decisions at the moment that they purchase. So if we can move to the next slide, please. So there's things that we know today, and there's things that we don't know yet. What are the most important elements for you to know when it concerns DPP? And then I really think of you within our RAIN RFID community, is that the data will be digitally connected through a data carrier and to a unique product identifier. So that digital connection and a data carrier really puts us in the spotlight. This data carrier needs to be physically present on the product, which is different than how we have used digital carriers, for example, in packaging, because then it's not physically present on the product itself, but it's on the packaging. So it's quite interesting that when it becomes applicable for the data carrier, and if you want to use it throughout the entire life cycle of product, having it embedded to the product is a very interesting feature. Not everything is clear at the moment. Important topics like the data carrier, data access rights are still to be decided in future delegated acts, and this is work that is in progress today. The information that is included in a digital product passport needs to refer to the product model, the batch, or the item. So this is very fundamental on the granularity of the details that need to be submitted.
You still there?
Yes? Did you lose me? Hello?
We can hear you okay.
Okay. Sorry,
yeah.
thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. So what is good to know, that the data will be stored in a decentralized manner. The European operated centralized registry for the DPP registration, which is quite important to have a registered. Oh, something is happening. I believe there's some technical issues here.
Yes, Juho did drop off. Let me see if I can get him back on.
There is no excuse for live webinars, is there?
No.
Are you able to pull up the presentation, Elizabeth?
Yes, let me see if he shared the most recent slides. Give me 1 second.
Sorry, folks. We're just improvising a little bit here. I will. Let me see if I can. I clicked away my. I have no. There's Juho back again. Hello.
Okay, Femke, I thought my office is the most sure place to get internet around here, but turns out it wasn't. So let me come back to the slide, I think, where you lost me.
Thank you.
Sorry about that. Has
It
not
happens.
before,
It
but
happens.
first time for everything, right? So just one moment. Here we go.
Thank you.
And should I go to the next slide?
Yeah, I think I was just basically the audience able is to read the text as we go along, and I was just going through the bullets and actually ending here with the very, and I think it's important to stress that in the context of the RAIN RFID Alliance and our technology, that it is very important that information that is linked to the data to the product is standardized, and that we are building a system that is interoperable with multiple data carriers that are alive and systems that need to be working together. So this is where standardization of the industry is truly fundamentally important. So this is something we will get back to as we go along in this presentation.
Most
Thank you,
certainly,
Juho.
and actually in the Q&A there was also interest to learn more about the difference between alternative data carriers such as QR code, NFC, and RAIN, and I'm happy to let you know that in a few minutes we will specifically tap on that issue.
So let's move forward then.
Excellent.
Because this title already says it. Oh, I'm missing a slide. Then go one back.
This one we covered.
Hey, there should be. Where's the slide with yeah, go down. That one. Yeah.
Just a moment. This one?
Yeah, please. I think this is a very important slide that really taps onto the question that we just had. Because there is indeed a lot of data carriers out there. Every one of us, whether you're in the UHF or NFC, familiar with these data carriers, every one of us is familiar with the barcodes and the QR codes, and they play a huge role in making data accessible for customers. But we also see the serialized QR codes. Again, we are talking specifically on the RAIN RFID data carrier in the context of the RAIN RFID Alliance, NFC in that scope of RFID, and then we recognize data carriers as Bluetooth and a digital watermark. And these are all active in various spaces of our, if you look at data and the product lifecycle. So in the circles that we showed earlier, RFID, RAIN RFID is very active in factory supply chain management, in logistics and distribution, and is highly adopted in the retail environment to connect data, product data, to a physical product. We see more and more use cases of RFID technology in linking the data with the sustainability information in DPP, but also using it in sorting of waste, linking it to repair information, and use cases that are associated with resale and reuse. So compared to other data carriers that are out there, the representation of RAIN RFID technology is quite enormous and not even realized or known by people to actually make use of these data points and really connecting it to our higher sustainability objectives. The only big gap that we see in the technology is our ability to link with the consumer. It is difficult or impossible today to tap your phone, link it to a data carrier, and then get access to the data. The scanning of the tags is where we have very much dependency on working with robust carriers like NFC or more simple data carriers like the barcode or QR code. So that interoperability, the way to move and work together with different data carriers, is something that we need to embrace, and we have today have a dependency on. Yes, we can act upon that, but to understand that the movement to DPP and the movement to circularity is such a big opportunity, it also outlines that there's a huge opportunity for many data carriers to actually work together and utilize their individual strength. Again, I'm calling out the huge opportunity there is for RAIN RFID carriers and how very well at scale it is adopted today in very many industries already. So let's start connecting those for sustainability usage rather than only for logistics or optimizing other type of flows.
Thank you for making that point, Femke, and also at the same time addressing a question that came through the Q&A. And as you said, there is currently a gap for the consumers to read RAIN-enabled items. However, maybe an additional point to make is that millions of people working in the textile industry or retail are every day utilizing RAIN already. So B2B readers are everywhere. There's a good ample of supply over there. And I think personally, it's only a matter of time. If it's already in B2B, it will jump into B2C. How long a time it takes? Actually, for DPP, it will take a few years for the legislation to be ready and the first industries to implement it. So I think we have our ducks in a row so that also consumers will be able to read RAIN tags in the coming few years.
Yeah, so if you can go to the must-win battle slide that we looked at previously. Yes, thank you. So I think building on Juho's comment, in a way we are also should be consciously aware that we have some given time to organize ourselves as an industry alliance. Because at the moment, we know that the digital product passport is a fact, but the mandated data carriers at ESPR level are not specified for all specific delegated acts yet. Specifically for the battery, we know they are very they mandated the QR codes, which I understand for consumer accessibility. But to make sure that RFID is recognized as a data carrier of choice, we are making sure that we as an alliance are better represented and known by a wider audience as a very, very interesting choice. So this is something where we are gearing up our activities and make sure we educate ourselves and inspire ourselves to these new use cases to make sure we are known as within the context of a DPP compliance. With that said, we again iterate the importance that DPP is a consumer application. Today, the consumers do not have the ability to read the RAIN tags in their phones. So they do have a dependency on data carriers, but I'm repeating what we just talked about. But this is very important for us to be all aware of, is that we need that collaborative approach with other industries until the moment the RAIN RFID can be read by the phones, and then the consumer is getting more in scope. I think this is where we move to the
call to action section.
Thank you, Juho. Give it back to you.
Thank you, Femke. Good. Call to action means that it's time to put on our overalls and get ready to do some serious heavy lifting. So as Thomas Edison has said, opportunity is missed by most people because it is dressed in overalls and looks like work. Does not only look like work, it really is heavy work. So the timeline that Femke sort of has already referred to is that in 2027, the 2027, the textile DPP enters into force. And you have to sort of back calculate from that. So going back in time from July 27 to January 26, that's 18 months time to prepare for compliance as the delegated act for textile DPP is published. So if that's published in January 26, it actually means that there is a lot of ongoing work currently to prepare that delegated act. So actually, as that is the time frame, companies prepare to implement. First companies will be already busy implementing right now. What that means for the companies in the RAIN ecosystem is that you should prepare to support your customers to implement DPP already today. On the tagging side, it might mean, for example, that you should come up with embedded tagging technologies that are better equipped to meet the requirements in diverse manufacturing processes. Furthermore, as the legislation is just being drafted, it is critical for our ecosystem to engage in the standards development work right now. It is done at the JTC 24, a work group underneath CEN. And there are already a number of RAIN companies active in there. There's a lot of experts, but we need more. We need more cloud. We need more active contributors, and thereby we can influence the content of the legislation. So as a summary to the whole presentation today, as Femke has explained, the Digital Product Passport really is a regulatory circularity tool with a global impact, well beyond the borders of Europe. As an ecosystem of RAIN companies, we have to make sure that DPP will extend the utilization of RAIN from supply chains to the item life cycle traceability. And we have a lot of work to do. To outline the work that needs to get done, you can see 4 areas of work. First of all, we need to make sure RAIN is an alternative DPP data carrier, and that work is best currently done at the CEN JTC 24 work group. For RAIN member companies, you have direct access to current status of that work through the Basecamp platform. Secondly, as I noted a few minutes ago, tagging technology providers should develop tagging technologies that are economical and sustainable, survive the life cycle of items, rather than just survive the supply chain. These tagging technologies should be compatible with industrial scale manufacturing. They should not be considered e-waste, obviously. And many industries will need tagging that is embedded into the products. Think of tires, for example, where that is already business as usual since a couple of years' time. Thirdly, as an industry, we need to help the end users comply with DPP, having RAIN as the data carrier. Again, work is being done underneath the RAIN Alliance in several work groups, one of which is the sustainability work group. There's a even specific DPP team within the sustainability work group that is led by Femke. Finally, as Femke mentioned, we will need RAIN readability in consumer smart devices. Now that's a more difficult task, but as an ecosystem, I'm very optimistic into the future that we will figure it out and have RAIN as a native ability in consumer smart devices in the coming few years. Excellent. That's really the content of the webinar. There's a few questions we will take from the Q&A still. And
I think, Juho, if I may interrupt, I think we recognize that questions are coming in.
Please.
And I don't think we will have time to address all of them in the webinar today, but we will make sure to follow up through our Basecamp or website to follow up on those questions and give the appropriate feedback.
Oh, for sure, yes. And let's use the remaining minutes to cover as many questions as we can. At the same time, dear audience, if you would be kind to answer three end of presentation questions. I'm sorry about the technical difficulties there a couple of minutes ago, but coming back to the questions, there were several questions on the Surpass projects and comments that actually there's retail, construction, tires. So many industries are covered by the Surpass 2 pilot projects. Femke, could you have an idea of how interested parties can join Surpass 2 pilot projects? Is it still possible?
I believe the participation is, I think there's room to provide input and learn along with the project, but I don't know what the status is. They're still allowing members to join the pilots. I think I don't know. To be really honest, I don't have a detailed knowledge of that.
From my point of view, the few pilot projects I'm aware of, it's fairly simple to just contact the project leaders and ask them whether it's open doors and what kind of technologies are utilized in certain pilots. I think there's several different data carriers that they are looking at. So please engage. It's a learning experience for sure. Let's have a look at the other questions. There is interest from the audience on the question of e-waste. I will just briefly say that the RAIN Alliance is working to address that. We quite don't yet know what the situation in all the different European countries is specifically, but we are looking at that and hope to learn more in the coming months. Actually, that would make a terrific headline for a future RAIN webinar for sure. Let's have a look at the list. So there's a question, how do we make sure that the DPP standard considers RAIN RFID along with other standards? As I mentioned, there's a CEN JTC24 work group actively building the, let's say, legislation draft. They are looking at many different aspects, one of those being the data carrier. So participating in that work group is one way to make sure that all these different data carriers are supported in the DPP. DPP is quite a broad, let's say, challenge for many industries. I think it's also a bigger challenge than one technology alone can handle. So as Femke referred, most likely some industries will even utilize several different data carriers. So the interoperability between those will be another important aspect to consider.
If I may compliment you,
Please.
Juho, on this, we did make it specific that a lot of details on data accessibility are regulated in the specific delegated acts, and how delegated acts are defined and how you can influence these delegated acts. There's actually a quite an interesting influence that we as a RAIN RFID Alliance are trying to put together. So so we have an influence on the delegated acts as well, and interact with the work that is taking place in Brussels through a very effective positioning on some of the elements that are very relevant for the RAIN community, and that definitely taps into topics like interoperability, the overarching sustainability transition, the maturity of the technology. There's very many activities, both on the offensive side as on the defensive sides, that we're taking a position in and using that knowledge to influence specific delegated acts in recognizing the RAIN RFID really as a data carrier of choice. So that is very important that we do that together as in the industry, because as an individual company, you will not have the influence that we can have as an industry alliance, just because it works more on pushing the industry forward than on the behalf of individual companies. So we really respect that within the RAIN RFID Alliance, and really trying to do that in a structured approach to really make sure we navigate that effectively. So there's more activity that we do. Same as that, we feel it's important that we educate our members and be open to your feedback as well. So this is the reason for being active in Florence and hosting this webinar.
Thank you, Femke, and also picking up from many other questions and comments that are coming through. I'd say the DPP currently is a moving target. So not all the, let's say, requirements are known as of now. There's more requirements coming in all the time. And there's a lot of open questions that we don't need to answer right now, but questions that we need to be able to answer as the implementation comes closer. So from that point of view, it's not only the legislation, it is also the Surpass 2 pilot projects that we learn from and hopefully find the correct ways to implement DPP across different industries. It's few minutes to the hour. Thank you all for answering the satisfaction poll there. The feedback is much appreciated. There's a lot of questions, many of which we will take up for discussion at the RAIN work groups and in Basecamp discussions. So please consider joining the RAIN Alliance as a paying member, or just visiting a RAIN face-to-face meeting. The next one will take place in September in beautiful Florence in Italy. We have already had one meeting in that area. This will be the second one. hosted by BeyondTag, and it is actually possible to register to the event already today if you still want to become a speaker. That I think might also be possible still. With that said, thank you so much for attending the webinar today. Femke, thank you so much for your expertise and wisdom today. I wish you all a very fine day ahead. Thank you.